Welcome to Speak Truth America. I am Des.
And I'm Serene.
A show where we are pro-God,
pro-freedom, and pro-truth. We're just a couple of hippie patriots bringing you what the TV can't televise.
That's right. We got producer Brian back there making it all happen.
Ow.
Yeah. Welcome to episode
13. All right, let's get into it.
All right.
Okay, so let's talk about DOGE because, wow.
Right? Wow, indeed. Yeah, this is like, something we've been dreaming about, like something like 10 years ago or, X amount of years ago as a conspiracy theorist. You're thinking, God, that'd be awesome if they did this.
Right, and you're like, oh, it's never really going to happen.
Right, yeah.
But look how fast things are moving. That's another thing is like how fast everything's moving. I don't think I've ever seen anything in government move this fast.
No, it's amazing. Like, we always knew this was happening. We always knew there was all this wasteful, fraudulent type of spending and just misappropriation of funds. But we didn't have the receipts before.
Right.
And now that we do, I think that gives them the license to move this fast because it's like, wait a minute. Because they're going to try to throw every wrench in the book to try to stop this from happening. But now it's like everybody is starting to see how much our money, which everybody hates paying that monay, is just being
right
wasted.
Or left. We all don't want to pay our taxes, right?
This could unify the country, right?
Yeah, and it's nice because like you said, we knew that this was happening, but we didn't know the details. We didn't know the depth, the dollar amounts, the exact locations that our money was going to. We knew that they would just wastefully spend our money, but we didn't have those details, and now we're starting to get them.
Right, and just as more and more people start to see this happening, well, I mean, look at his approval rating. It's already like...
70% is what I saw last.
Yeah, and like 53 with like Quinnipiac, with the fake news. So even with the fake news...
I think on CNN, they said 70%.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, all of them. They're all saying his favorability is higher than any other president, and that's because so this has a chance to really unify us, guys. So if you know somebody out there who is still struggling with the new adjustments in the country, this is the kind of stuff you should show them, guys.
Yes. So let's talk about something that I just saw, was it today or yesterday? Very recently, where they just discovered that FEMA sent $59 million just last week to house illegals in luxury hotels.
Luxury hotels.
And this is something we've been saying that they were doing because we already saw that the illegals were being put up in these hotels and all of that. We didn't have a dollar amount. And we didn't have the receipts for sure. We just had the observation of seeing the illegals there.
Right. Now, the thing to keep in mind in all this, guys, if you're still kind of struggling to understand it, or, you want to help somebody who is struggling to understand it, is that this has been a system of fraud and kickbacks. They collect our taxpayer dollars and do a big pool, right? And that allows businesses, special interests, all kinds of people to then get their hands on it. And the way they've been able, so basically a big money laundering scheme, a big embezzlement scheme through every big business, every politician, everybody's making money down the line on this stuff. That's why it's luxury hotels. That's why the people that contribute to, or the special interest groups that contribute to these politicians are getting those contracts. So it's all a system of take our money and use it as an intermediary to distribute our money to big businesses and special interest groups around the world.
Doesn't this just make you want to be like, well, I identify as an illegal, so can you put me up in one of those hotels?
Right, at least you get something out of it.
So this was a post that Elon Musk put on X. It says the DOGE team just discovered that FEMA sent $59 million last week to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal migrants. Sending this money violated the law and is in gross insubordination to the president's executive order that money is meant for American disaster relief and instead is being spent on high-end hotels for illegals. A clawback demand will be made today to recoup those funds.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Like, what have we been seeing with these disasters that have been happening in our country and how they're not able to get the help that they need from FEMA, and FEMA's not doing anything for them?
It's unconscionable.
Yet they're sending all this money to illegals.
Right. It's unconscionable. The people that pay for this stuff. Now, it'd be one thing if every man, woman, and child in this country was just being well taken care of. Like, you just had money, like if they were distributing this money to the citizens, like as in we were getting those payouts, we were getting those contracts. okay, maybe people would be not so outraged by this. But when it's not even coming to the people who have been
still, I don't
breaking
know.
their back
That's
for this.
still kind of like,
Oh, it's 100% still bad. It doesn't. It's bad either way. But I mean, like if you back to even what I was saying, if you look at where this money goes, I guarantee you the luxury hotels, the owners, the people that end up taking that money to the bank are the same people that put their money into campaign contributions for Democrats.
Oh, probably,
it's
right?
all a big system of fraud and kickbacks.
Get exposed
they get the Democrats in, and the Democrats get them the contracts, and that's how this whole thing works.
Right. And why aren't homeless veterans being housed in luxury hotels? I'm sure we could be like, okay, well, they kind of deserve that. I'd get behind that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like if they were just like blowing money on giving it to veterans and the first responders, and
they served our country, so the least we can do is make sure that they're living good when they get home.
Right, they got money coming out of their ears from government contracts. That's a little bit harder to argue with. This shouldn't even be an argument.
Right.
So
yeah. So then there was a response to this. If we could pull that up from Cameron Hamilton, who works. Or senior official performing the duties of FEMA administrator. So he is part of FEMA. And he says, I want to thank the DOGE team for making me aware of this. Effective yesterday, these payments have all been suspended from FEMA. Personnel will be held accountable. So he didn't even know that this was going on. So who's making these decisions? Who's allocating this money? Because if he didn't know, then that just goes to show that there's really some shady stuff going on here.
That's right. And I just love how there's so much cooperation between departments now, and they're getting intel, they're getting information from the people. For once now, the people can say, hey, I work at this organization. I'm going to tell DOGE about this. And DOGE can be like, we'll look into that. And then, wow, that's happening. Now we're going to relay that to another organization and make sure that there's actual accountability.
Yes.
Right.
Finally.
If there's one word under God, under Jesus that we need is accountability, in this world.
Right. So. We're moving out of the age of deception, and all of it is coming to the light. It takes time, but I'm actually thinking that this is happening a lot faster than I even thought it would.
Oh, I know. It's almost like too much, right? Trump's like, there's gonna be too much winning.
You're gonna get sick of winning. And it's funny because it's making the left like all in shambles. They're like, we need to protest this, but then this is happening, so now we need to protest this, and they don't know what they need to protest, and they're just like kind of self-destructing.
That's right.
Now.
Don't forget, you guys, we're the news. You guys are the news. We're all the news now. So we have to deliver this to the people, especially those who are struggling against this, that are like, they don't understand. They're being told that it's a government takeover, that, that the unelected people are taking over the government, that Elon Musk is stealing your tax dollars now. Like crazy stuff that has no logic at all. But that's what people are being filled with right now, guys. So we have to deliver this to our neighbors, to our friends, to our family. So take it and go.
So another thing that's been uncovered from DOGE is the USAID money, right?
So this is
so how many departments are there? Oh my gosh. So Senator John Kennedy actually put together a great list. So I think we're just going to allow him to tell you guys because he just has it all together.
Yeah, share this, guys. Share this with people, with your coworkers, with other people. We try to put this all together to make it nice and easy.
Yeah, USAID seems to be one of the biggest ones right now so far.
They've just touched 1%.
So let's see. All of the wasted money being spent with our taxpayer dollars. Take it away.
Government. In fiscal year 2023 alone, this is just 1 year, our government sent $1.3 billion. Not $1.3 million. We sent $1.3 billion in checks to dead people. Those aren't my numbers.
What?
Those numbers come from the Office of Management and Budget. That's just 1 year. Not only is the federal government sending checks to dead people, those checks are being cashed. Now, I have heard, Mr. President, of dead people voting, but cashing the checks?
Wow.
You don't have to be God's perfect idiot to realize that there's fraud happening.
So true. So that's just one thing. Let's pull up the list where he just names them all.
This is the kind of stuff Mr. Musk found. He found that the USAID gave money to support electric vehicles in Vietnam. Our money, taxpayer money. He found that USAID gave money to a transgender clinic in India. I didn't know that. I bet you the American people didn't know that. He found that the USAID gave $1.5 million to a Serbian LGBTQ group called Grupa DOGE. I probably mispronounced that. My apologies. Anyway, they got $1.5 million to, quote, advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business communities. What else did Mr. Musk found that my colleagues don't want to talk about? Well, he reviewed a study and then went and checked it. The study was done by the Middle East Forum. They found that USAID spent $164 million to support radical organizations around the world.
Oh, my God.
We're not talking Cub Scout troops here. We're talking about radical organizations around the world. They gave $122 million of that to groups aligned with foreign terrorist organizations. Our taxpayer money. According to this report in Mr. Musk, the USAID has given millions of dollars to, quote, organizations in Gaza controlled by Hamas. Why aren't my colleagues talking about that? Recipients of the money, they found, have, quote, called for their lands to be cleansed from the impurity of Jews. That's what we're giving foreign aid to.
Wow.
What else? I'm not going to spend my whole time talking about this, but nobody else is talking about it. They're just talking about the process. And Mr. Musk, and he's a mean guy, and he shouldn't be looking at our spending. Well, he is. And I kind of find what he's found out interesting. He found that we gave $2 million, USAID did, for sex changes in Guatemala. He found that we gave $20 million to produce a new Sesame Street show in Iraq.
What?
He found that we gave $4.5 million of taxpayer money to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. He found that we gave $10 million, USAID did, of meals to an al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group called the Nusra Front. Mr. Musk found that we gave $7.9 million of taxpayer money to a project that would teach Sri Lankan journalists to avoid binary gendered language.
Oh, my God.
We took,
I can't
the USAID took $8 million.
This is insane.
So-
This just goes on and on and on for like 30 minutes.
Right. And this is the tip of the iceberg. They've started auditing 1% of the government, like nothing. Like this is just some of the big ones to begin with. And if you put it into perspective, take $100, right? And stack $100 up. You got a stack of hundreds. That's like 10 grand, right? And you stack each one of those stacks of 10 grand into, on the table. You get about this much, like a duffel bag's worth is about $1 million. And 1,000 of those duffel bags is $1 billion. So can you imagine how many duffel bags of cash are being put into these programs? Like that's unfathomable. It's just so hard to imagine.
Yeah, thank you for giving us that visual because I think a lot of people can't even comprehend what $1 billion is. People think when you don't have much money, you think $1 million is a lot. And yes, it is a lot. But you put that in the same category as $1 billion when it's not even close. So having the visual is really good.
Yeah, big time. It's like
also, I think it's really funny that they're getting mad at Elon for exposing it because that's like, I was thinking about this earlier. It's kind of like finding out someone's cheating on you and then taking their phone and looking at their text messages and then they get mad at you for invading their privacy, even though they're actually cheating. Why aren't we getting mad at the person that's cheating? We're getting mad at the person that's looking into the phone of someone else, and saying, "Oh, that's our privacy. You can't look at that."
Right. Yeah, you ran a business and then you get mad at the people who audited it and show that your employees are stealing from you. How dare you? You show them that my employees are stealing from me.
You can't look into this.
How dare you?
It's insane.
Yeah, it keeps going. Guys, this is the scam. This is what it's been about. They're funding both sides of the war. And that's because they make money on both sides. These people who are special interests. You got the military industrial complex. You fund terrorist organizations or rebel groups, right? You fund them through NGOs, through these intermediary, a buffer, right? You put them into there and then they fund them, right? And then they go and they cause chaos, which then that causes a response, right? Reaction, solution, problem, reaction, solution, right? They cause the problem. Then that forces Congress to go, well, we have to get, somebody says we've got a bill here that we want to go help this country fight these rebels. It's like, well, they were only able to get strong and able to cause this chaos because of the aid that they're getting from USAID and other programs. Then the military industrial complex makes contracts on producing more weapons, and we bang the drums of war to go fight them. So then more
and then
money
they justify the taxing. Like, so we're in war, so we need taxes.
Right.
Because that's where it all started anyways. Like, we didn't have income tax before.
Right.
Yes. So basically, it's all by design. And this is, it's all on purpose.
Right. Somebody pointed out, they're going to take away all this money and it's going to make the world less stable and more chaotic. And it's like, they've been blowing all this money, and it just keeps getting more. To
make the world less stable and more chaotic.
It's like it's been getting more and more chaotic and more unstable the whole time. So what is the money for then? If that's what it looks like, if you're putting the money into it and this is what's happening, then it's obviously not working or it's a big scam.
Right.
And it looks like it's the last.
So we have a really great video to show you that kind of explains this a little bit deeper. Let's roll it.
A picture here of an Al-Qaeda leader, and they are in a USAID tent. Look who signed the check for the initial $200,000 payment to the Islamic Relief Agency, the United States Agency for International Development. The more you look into USAID, the more shocked you will become. USAID was running a top-secret espionage program to undermine Cuba and push people to dissent. Now, let me show you how much money we're talking about. It included a $1 billion sovereign loan guarantee, $320 million in general assistance. So where else beside the NIH has money been coming from? By far, the largest donors are from USAID and the Department of Defense. Judicial Watch found that the U.S. State Department and USAID had been giving millions to the Macedonian arm of George Soros's Open Society Foundation. What for? To train youth movements. So USAID, and those are always, they're known by anybody who pays attention as CIA fronts. This is, the USAID comes into a country, they start doing things, and next thing you know, we've got a revolution on our hands because that's the CIA.
Okay, can I just say that these are acts of war? What they're doing are acts of war. And it's all to cause the chaos like we were talking about. But why do they want to cause the chaos? Because they want to issue in the one world government, right? It's the whole globalism. Like, I love that they talked about the George Soros thing because he's totally part of all of that. They want one world government so that they can control the entire world with one government very easily.
That's right.
And that's what we're fighting. Right.
That's what open societies are, guys. They make it sound like it's about freedom, but it's dark freedom, right? You're not held accountable by your community. You don't have to have any responsibility to your family, to your country, or anything. Oh, these are just burdens upon the people. You should just let this one world government run everything, and then you could just focus on your own little life because these are just burdens. That's how they get it, right? That's how they've been doing it for so long, right? They fund the chaos, and then that gives them the ability to seize the order out of that chaos.
Right. So it's all being exposed, uncovered, and we are doing everything we can in MAGA to fight this and to bring power back to each nation, because it's not just make America great, because that's our focus here, but it's make every other country great on their own. Like, we should all be independently great, and we should be able to work it out together like that. So moving on, there's lots more that DOGE is exposing, and we don't want to make this too long. So it's very interesting because I know Elon has been talking about exposing the Pentagon and all the spending there. And there was a warning put out because we all know what is very possible to happen if certain people get exposed that don't want to be exposed. So let's just roll this clip and then you'll see what Elon wrote. Or here, you could see what Elon wrote right here. Guess I better maximize my security. And he's referring to this.
You have a Pentagon that has billions of dollars that they hide. We don't ask for any accounting of. They never pass an audit. in the history of audits. I've often said the only way we're really going to get to the bottom of this is somebody's going to walk out of one of these labs with this information and puts it out on the internet before they commit suicide by shooting themselves in the back of the head 5 times.
Right.
So I think that's a reference largely to Gary Webb. If you guys remember or know who Gary Webb was, journalist for a small newspaper, I think it was called the San Jose Mercury or whatever. He was pulling on the thread of how federal governments fund not just, terrorist organizations, but also they were funding the drug organizations in this country to facilitate the inpouring of drugs onto the streets, as well as, funding other cartels and other places like that around the world and, rebel groups in order to, again, cause this chaos, which then gives them the ability to then step in and start to see some kind of power. And what he was shot with 2 gunshots to the head, and it was ruled a suicide, right?
Suicide.
I mean,
it's always ruled suicide.
Right. There's so many examples of this that happen. And, this all goes back to like the House Appropriations Committee, right? Because you have so much money coming in that these, like the military industrial complex, becomes such a powerful lobby group. And these interests have so much money that they are able to flex that control, that money and that influence onto congressmen, onto politicians. And all of the House Appropriations Committee, for example, answers to those lobby groups or answers to where the money comes in and decides who's going to get the money. So that's why that's what keeps all these politicians, congressmen in line. They have to then dance to the jig of what they want them to dance to, because if not, they don't get the money, and then therefore they don't get their seat, and they don't get to make their money on the kickbacks and the.
That's aside from all the blackmail as well.
Blackmail on
top of that,
all of this compiles onto it. So it's been a big system of fraud and kickbacks, like I'm saying. And maybe another episode we can put together an actual chart for you, and so it's a little bit easier to kind of visualize it.
Well, we want to leave you with one last thing, even though there's so much more that DOGE has been doing. We're just this picture of the NIH and what they've been finding here and what they're canceling and all of that. And one of them is just really funny because it's Anthony Fauci's exhibit in the NIH museum.
So you guys can go to DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency on X, and actually see what they're doing. They post it out there, and they can give you the actual receipts of what they're actually looking at.
Yeah. Transparency. They say MAGA's not about trans, but we are about transparency.
I love it. So $168,000 to Fauci exhibit. I'm pretty sure we can X that. We can transition that out of here. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us today. If you guys like today's episode, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, all the things, please. And remember that we're all here for a reason. And it's up to us to create a better, more truthful world together. So always seek the truth and always speak the truth, even if your voice shakes.
That's beautiful. Yep. And remember, guys, stay powered up in the armor of God, because it's only through him that we can do all things.
Amen. All right. Till next time. Peace out. God bless.
Peace.
Much love.